Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show, joined by Logan Glaser of RT Sports. Thanks so much for coming on once again, Logan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
So, Logan and I have been doing previews the last couple weeks on the positions in fantasy baseball, going over all of them, talking about our favorite targets, fades, breakouts, and rookies. And we are up to the starting pitcher position. So this is obviously a very deep position. Logan and I are going to give you a couple targets we like, a couple fades, a breakout, and a rookie for the starting pitcher spot. But overall, Logan, before we get into that, we can talk briefly that our games are still, you're able to draft in all the fantasy baseball games, but the season does officially start tonight. So we're taping this right now, Tuesday, March 19th, and the Dodgers play tonight in Korea, I believe. And the games are happening, but you can talk to our viewers and listeners out there a little bit about how it's going to work for us here at Real Time Fantasy Sports in terms of scoring for those games.
Yeah, so those two games are taking place about a week before all of the other teams start with opening day. So you basically get a free look at Dodgers and Padres players. If you want them in your lineup and they do well in these two games, you're going to make sure that they're in your lineup on the 28th. And then once those games lock on the 28th, you will get points from those two games. If they do bad, you can put them on your bench. And then once the 28th comes and it locks in, you won't get stats counted from those games. So, for example, if Ohtani has a couple home runs, make sure he's in your lineup. But if you have like Yu Darvish and he gives up 7 runs, you can make sure he's on your bench so you don't get those runs counted against you.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of advantage if you take those guys, but you can also take them after the games have been played as well. So we're going to be doing drafts all the way up to the start of the season, obviously. So the official MLB season, which starts next week, the games start this week, but the rest of the league when they kick off, you can still draft up until those games start. So you can pick some players for the Dodgers and Padres as well, all the way up until the start of the fantasy season on RT Sports. And as always, Logan, tons of games you can pick from here at Real Time Fantasy Sports, different price points, different contests. You can do roto, you can do points. We have our home run challenge as well. All sorts of different things you can do at RT Sports, right?
Yeah, so many different types of styles. The home run showdown has really been very popular so far. We've almost filled over 200 home run showdown leagues, which we launched at very late, only just 2 weeks ago, maybe. So that's definitely a very popular format. You just select 9 players. Whoever hits the most home runs wins.
Yep. No weekly management. Drafts are like 15 minutes. So if you have already drafted and you want to get in another league and don't want to do anything too intense, it's a great one to get in, something a little different. Really a lot of fun. So go to rtsports.com, click on that money league link. You can see everything we have to offer on there. All right, Logan, let's get into the starting pitcher preview. Like I mentioned, we're going to give you a couple targets, a couple fades, a breakout, and a rookie. I'll let you go first. You give me your first target when it comes to the starting pitchers.
Yeah, first target's actually going to be pitching this morning with that, and that's going to be Tyler Glasnow for Dodgers. He currently has an ADP of 46. The real question with him is, does he stay healthy during the season? I think he's a top 5 pitcher if he does stay healthy, but that's a big if. He's only started over 20 games once since 2018. But if he does stay healthy, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball and being drafted at starting pitcher number 11. So I think he's being drafted that low just because of his health concerns in the past. He looks ready to go for the season, playing on probably the best team in baseball with the Dodgers. So I'm definitely going to be targeting him and hoping that he stays healthy throughout the year.
I've been the same way. I have a lot of glass now on a lot of my teams. It worries me with the injury history, but I just love the potential. So I like that call there. My first target's Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. His ADP is 53.16 right now, so not super high, but man, he is so talented. He has 13 strikeouts to 2 walks in 9 innings this spring. He has looked tremendous. His fastball's been in the high 90s. His numbers were just absolutely off the charts last year once he got healthy. He only played about half a season, but he was tremendous. Big strikeout numbers, good ERA, good whip. I just think he's a star in the making. And you can get him, at 53 ADP, and I think he's capable of being top 5 overall. So I love the potential there. Again, a little bit of a risk considering the injury issues he had last year, but I still think Skubal's a star and ready to take his game to another level. All right, Logan, give me another one of your targets for this year.
Yeah, my next target is Sonny Gray, and he's currently being drafted around pitcher number 29. He has an ADP of 120, and I just think that's way too low for a guy that finished second in the Cy Young last year. There is a little bit of a injury bug with him right now. He has a hamstring injury, and he's going to be missing the first maybe week or so. But again, this is a long season, and that tanked his draft value because he was going around 80, 90 for ADP, and now he's going 120 after that injury scare. But his stats are just incredible when you really look at it. Last year, he started 32 games, 2.79 ERA, 1.15 WHIP. But he's only had 8 wins in the last 2 years after putting up crazy good numbers. His ERA in the last 2 years, I mentioned 3.08 and 2.79, and he's only had 8 wins. So hopefully he gets a couple more wins this year with the Cardinals on a new team.
My next target's actually a guy who's being drafted around a similar spot as Sonny Gray. That's Dylan Cease. Just got traded to the Padres. His ADP is 103. He's just a tremendous pitcher. Now he moves to a much better team with a much better defense. I think that's going to help his numbers even more. Chicago was not very good the last several years. I know Cease kind of had a down year last year, but still, I love his potential, love his ceiling on the team, on the Padres. I think he's going to have a great season. His ADP, like I mentioned, is just 103. I think he'll get more wins. He has 210 plus strikeouts 3 straight seasons, so he's really going to help you in that category. His ERA can be a little higher in the mid to upper 3s, but still, love the strikeouts. His whip's normally really good. He's durable as well. I just think he's great value at that point in the draft, and he's a guy who's on a lot of my fantasy teams right now. All right, let's talk about the other end of things, Logan. Fades. I know you kind of disagree with me on one of my picks,
Yeah.
so you can. It's good to have a disagreement. So, and I'm totally interested to hear what you have to say about one of your fades. So let's
Yeah,
hear
it's
it.
pretty. I feel like it's pretty rare because we don't talk about these picks before we come on air.
Nope.
We just slightly go over what players and just matches up. I think this is our first target/fade crossover in our position previews, and that's Tariq Skubal for me. He had, as you mentioned, he has a current ADP of 53, and I just like the players around him much more. As you mentioned, Dylan Cease is going there. I mentioned Tyler Glass now is going around there. So there's so many quality pitchers going right there. And I just need to see a little bit more of Skubal this year. As you mentioned, he had an injury last year. He only pitched 15 games. He did have a 2.8 ERA in those 2 games or 15 games. But prior to that, his couple of years ago, he has 5.6 ERA, 4.3 ERA. So I just need to see a little bit more from him before I can waste a top 5 pick overall for a team on Skubal.
Understandable. I get it. Totally get it. It's good to have opposite opinions as well. So we can let the viewers decide what they want to do there. It's a tough call for sure. So one of my fades is a guy who's highly touted coming to the season, and that's Yoshin Yamamoto. I hope I pronounced his name right, but the Japanese pitcher from Los Angeles signed that huge deal. His ADP is 35, around 35, 36. He's usually one of the first 5 or 6 pitchers off the board. I just think that's too high. I know he's talented. I know we got a huge contract, but he's coming here, never pitched in the major leagues just yet. His ERA is 8.38 in 3 spring training games. He's allowed 15 hits in 9 2/3 innings. Again, I think he's talented. I think he's a great pitcher and has a lot of talent, a lot of upside, but I just don't like that price tag. That scares me. I'm not going to spend that much for a guy that hasn't shown me anything yet in the major leagues and has struggled in spring training as well. There's a lot that goes into it too. He's moving to the States. You don't know what type of personality he has. Like, can he handle this all? A lot more pressure. It concerns me, and I'm just not spending a pick that high on Yamamoto, trying to, use a 3rd round pick on him, where I think he carries a little more uncertainty than some of the pitchers, as you mentioned with Skubal, that you like getting drafted around him. So that's one of my fades. Give me one more fade, Logan.
Yeah, my last fade with that is going to be Aaron Nola. He currently has an ADP of 50. So you're kind of seeing a trend. All these pitchers are going right around the same area so far. And with Nola, what has really propelled him in the last couple of years is his durability. 5 of his last 6 years, he's gone at least 32 or more games started, but he hasn't fared great. His ERA in the last 3 years have gone 4.63, 3.25, 4.46. So he's had some issues with ERA and WHIP the last couple of years. What saved him is his innings pitched, just because of his durability. And more innings pitched equals more strikeouts. So he's had over 200 strikeouts in the last 3 years. So that's kind of what's really been saving his fantasy value. Again, I just don't think he's a top 15 pitcher overall, but that durability, it does play a big factor into a season-long format, but I'm still going to be fading him.
Ironically, you mentioned durability and injury issues. I mean, durability's been really good, but for this guy who's actually getting picked very similar to Noah, it's Max Fried. I just don't like him. He's been hurt 2 of the last 4 seasons. Couldn't stay healthy last year. His ADP is 53.48, so right around Noah again. Again, he's a really good pitcher. He's put up some good numbers, but he's been hurt 2 of the last 4 years. He has a 5.73 ERA in 3 spring training games this season. I love his potential. I love the team, but I just worry about those injury issues. And with the players that I can get around him with a similar ADP, I'd rather just take a chance on them. I just think Fried carries a little too much risk for me, considering his injury issues 2 of the last 4 seasons. All right, Logan, let's talk about a breakout. Somebody we think is going to take their game to a new level this year at the starting pitcher spot.
Yeah, my breakout pitcher is going to be Hunter Brown. He currently has an ADP of 190 for Houston Astros. He's going to open up the season as their number 3 pitcher. They have a couple injuries with their starting staff, especially with Justin Verlander, a little bit banged up to start the season. Once he comes back, Hunter Brown will probably be in the 3, 4, 5 range for starting pitchers for them. Last year was his first full season. He had 31 games, 155 innings pitched, 178 strikeouts, but he struggled with his ERA of 5.09. Again, he is only 25 years old. They are really relying on him to break out. They have a lot of they are just need another good young pitcher with the Astros right now, with Justin Verlander getting up there with age after re-signing him. And I really think they are really counting on Hunter Brown to be that breakout pitcher for him. And he has shown flashes. Last year, his first half of the season, he did really well. Second half, it was fatigue. He mentioned he kind of changed his pitching form because of that fatigue end of the year. So a lot of questions will be how well his durability is, and as I keep mentioning that, is throughout the season.
I like Brown a lot this year. I've been getting him a lot of my teams as well. I think he's going to have a big season. I'm not scared of that ERA from last year. I just think the potential is huge, so I like that call. My breakout, Yuri Perez of the Miami Marlins, 87 ADP. I think he's one of the best young pitchers in the game. He got called up about halfway through the season last year. He allowed just 72 hits in 91 of the third innings. He strikes out more than a batter of game. He has filthy stuff. His main issue was walks last year. His command was a little down, but he's a young pitcher. I think it's going to get better. And if his command just gets a little better, I think he walked around 31, 32 people in 91 innings last year. So that's not great. But if he just improves on that a little, his whip's really going to improve. His ERA as well. He's having a strong spring also. So I think Perez is ready to take his game to a new level. I know Jesus Luzardo, they go like right next to each other. And if I had to pick a Marlins pitcher, I'd probably go Perez. I just think he has more potential. So I think he's going to have a big season for the Marlins. All right, let's talk about a rookie now, Logan. It's kind of always tough to gauge rookie pitchers because you never know how many innings they're going to get, or when they're going to get called up, or who's going to break with the team in the rotation. So it's a little tough at times, but there's normally some guys that help out every year for fantasy teams. Give me your rookie target for
Yeah,
this year.
there's several rookies actually to pick from for starting pitchers, including a couple of Japanese pitchers that have come over this year with that. But pitcher I'm going to go with is Kyle Harrison for the Giants, 22 years old. He's slotted in to be San Francisco's number 4 starter after that Snell signing actually this morning with that. Last year, Kyle Harrison had 34 innings pitched. He got called up at the very end of the season. He had 35 strikeouts, 4.15 ERA. He has number 1 prospect in San Francisco, 23 overall. What impresses me most with him is his command. He also has a 97 mile per hour fastball. And he keeps that right around 95, 96 overall with his averages with that. He didn't have the best numbers in minor league. He had about a 4 ERA with that. But again, it's going to be I think this San Francisco is very excited to have Kyle Harrison, and he's going to be with the team from opening day.
Yeah, he should be a good prospect for sure. Someone to keep an eye on. I think he could have a good season, so I like him a lot as well. My pick is Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he might not open the season on the roster, but they are so thin at starting pitching. Pittsburgh, I think he's going to be starting before long. The number one overall pick last year, elite velocity, great slider. He just kind of reminds me of Spencer Strider, and that's saying a lot. I think Skeens has a chance to be really good. He's holding his own this spring training as well. Hasn't gotten a ton of work, but he has a 3 ERA in 2 games. I think it's just a matter of time before he's called up. So I like using a late round flyer on him. I think he could end up helping fantasy teams down the stretch of the season this year. All right, Logan, that's our starting pitcher preview for the 2024 fantasy baseball season. As always appreciate you coming on with me and sharing your knowledge. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
All right, thanks everybody out there for watching as well, and good luck in all of your upcoming fantasy drafts. And don't forget to check us out here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, rtsports.com. Sign up for one of those fantasy baseball leagues today. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.